A tiger does not proclaim his tigritude, he pounces. Be yourself. Ultimately, just be yourself. You cannot live a normal existence if you haven't taken care of a problem that affects your life and affects the lives of others, values that you hold which in fact define your very existence. Power is domination, control, and therefore a very selective form of truth which is a lie. We live in a materialist world, and materialism appeals so strongly to humanity, no matter where. The greatest threat to freedom is the absence of criticism. I grew up in an atmosphere where words were an integral part of culture. My father used to tell me stories before I fell asleep. When the children would gather, at a certain point, I had a tendency to make up my own elementary variations on stories I had heard, or to invent totally new ones. Looking at faces of people, one gets the feeling there's a lot of work to be done. The man dies in all those that keep silent. No man beholds his mother's womb yet who denies it's there. Coiled to the navel of the world is that endless cord that links us all to the great origin. If I lose my way, the trailing cord will bring me to the roots. Books and all forms of writing are terror to those who wish to suppress the truth. Suddenly the world has run amok and left you alone and sane behind. It's the place to begin, always, to return to home, literally. I am convinced that Nigeria would have been a more highly developed country without the oil. I wished we'd never smelled the fumes of petroleum. And I believe that the best learning process of any kind of craft is just to look at the work of others. Colonialism bred an innate arrogance, but when you undertake that sort of imperial adventure, that arrogance gives way to a feeling of accommodativeness. You take pride in your openness. Under a dictatorship, a nation ceases to exist. All that remains is a fiefdom, a planet of slaves regimented by aliens from outer space. Romance is the sweetening of the soul with fragrance offered by the stricken heart. The hand that dips into the bottom of the pot will eat the biggest snail. But the ultimate lesson is just sit down and write. That's all. But theater, because of its nature, both text, images, multimedia effects, has a wider base of communication with an audience. That's why I call it the most social of the various art forms. The man dies in all who keep silent in the face of tyranny. Don't take shadows too seriously. Reality is your only safety. Continue to reject illusion. Each time I think I've created time for myself, along comes a throwback to disrupt my private space. I never hesitated, as a student, in embracing the necessity of violence. In South Africa, I didn't just accept it, I looked forward to it as a mission. I don't know any other way to live but to wake up every day armed with my convictions, not yielding them to the threat of danger and to the power and force of people who might despise me. A tiger doesn't proclaim its tigerness, it jumps on its prey. For me, justice is the prime condition of humanity. It's my duty to fight those who have chosen to belong to the party of death, those who say they receive their orders from God somewhere and believe they have a duty to set the world on fire to achieve their own salvation. I consider the process of gestation just as important as when you're actually sitting down putting words to the paper. History teaches us to beware of the excitation of the liberated and the injustices that often accompany their righteous thirst for justice. 1. A mass movement from within, which, as you know, is constantly being put down brutally but which, again, regroups and moves forward as is happening right now as we are speaking. My horizon on humanity is enlarged by reading the writers of poems, seeing a painting, listening to some music, some opera, which has nothing at all to do with a volatile human condition or struggle or whatever. It enriches me as a human being. There is something really horrific for any human being who feels he is being consumed by other people. For the fire consumes all but the arsonist. I have one abiding religion: human liberty. Writers are human. I shudder to think how I must sometimes appear to others. A human feast is an indifferent morsel to a god. Let's say there are prospects for a new Nigeria, but I don't think we have a new Nigeria yet. Today, the constituency of fear has become much broader, far less selective. One thing I can tell you is this, that I am not a methodical writer. We hope you have enjoyed watching this video. Share your thoughts on the comments section below. We welcome your criticisms and advice and areas you will like us to improve. Subscribe to Ancient Wisdom Waves for more videos like this.